Welcome to Wellness 7000.
All right, settle in, because today we're taking a deep dive into something almost all of us experience, often daily, but maybe rarely truly understand. Stress. You know, that feeling, the pressure, the worry, that constant hum in the background of a busy life. If you've ever felt like the world is weighing on you or you're just sort of being pulled by the currents of life, this deep dive is definitely for you. We've stacked up some fantastic sources for you today, from really comprehensive guides on managing stress to expert insights from leading neuroscientists and health organizations. Our mission: to arm you with the ins and outs of stress, how it affects you, what causes it, and yeah, most importantly, how to manage and even reduce it, really transforming those feelings of overwhelm into hopefully a reservoir of inner calm. This isn't about avoiding stress entirely, right? It's more about mastering your response to it.
Indeed. Yeah, absolutely. We'll be looking at stress not just as this purely negative force, but really understanding its dual nature. When it can actually be beneficial and when it truly becomes a problem that starts to erode our well-being. What's truly fascinating here, I think, is that the pathways to control stress are actually hardwired into our biology, which means we all possess this inherent capacity to put a brake on it, so to speak. We'll explore some really objective tools grounded in physiology and neuroscience that allow you to literally feel better and navigate life's daily challenges more effectively.
Exactly. So get ready for some aha moments, maybe some surprising facts, and genuinely actionable strategies to help you navigate the stresses of your everyday life. Let's unpack this. Part 1, unpacking stress, what it is and how it shows up. So let's start with the basics. What is stress?
Right. At its core, it's your body's physical and emotional response. It's a reaction to new or challenging situations.
Okay, so challenges from work, school, health stuff, relationships, that kind of thing.
Exactly. It's that feeling of pressure, like you said, you get from a heavy workload or maybe an argument or even just worrying about money. But here's where it gets really interesting. Stress isn't always negative.
Oh, that feels counterintuitive. We always hear about how bad stress is.
Well, yeah, and chronic stress is bad. But research shows that in moderation, acute stress can actually be positive. It acts as a helpful indicator. Maybe you're under threat or uncomfortable, signaling you to take steps to address the situation.
It's like a little warning bell.
Precisely. This short-lived stress can make us more alert, more focused. It can even improve performance in certain situations, help us get things done. Think of it as a normal coping response that can actually forge a healthy sense of problem-solving ability.
And you mentioned even good things can cause it.
Surprisingly, yes. This feeling of pressure isn't always triggered by bad news. It can come from genuinely positive events, starting a new job, getting married, even going on holiday. Big life changes, good or bad.
Huh. Okay, so it's the change or the challenge itself, not necessarily whether it's good or bad.
Exactly. And what's particularly fascinating about this short-term stress is its role in our biology. It's organized in part to combat bacterial or viral infection.
Really? How does that work?
Well, when your body releases adrenaline, for instance, it helps liberate killer cells from immune organs like the spleen. These cells then actively fight off infection.
Wow, so that quick stress response is actually boosting immunity.
In the short term, yes, it's an acute adaptive response, clearly beneficial. However, and this is the crucial part, this helpful indicator becomes a serious problem when it's excessive or prolonged.
Right, that's the switch.
Yes, if you feel stressed most of the time, or if it's consistently affecting your daily life, it significantly increases the risk of serious illnesses like heart disease and mental health problems, such as anxiety and depression.
So for our listeners, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? How do we tell the difference between that productive pressure and the kind that's actually, eroding our health?
Precisely. It often comes down to duration and intensity. That short burst of adrenaline can be a powerful ally.
Hmm.
But when you're constantly operating in that state, that's when the system designed for protection turns against you.
Okay, let's unpack this further then. When you're feeling threatened or upset, your body launches into what's famously known as the fight or flight response.
That's the one.
This is an inherited system, right? From our ancestors who needed to either run away from danger or face it and fight.
Absolutely. It's a primal, lightning-fast reaction designed purely for survival.
So what's happening biologically during that response?
A collection of neurons starting at your neck and running down to your navel, it's called the sympathetic chain ganglia, become highly activated very fast.
Sympathetic chain ganglia. Got it.
This rapid activation triggers the release of acetylcholine, which then prompts other neurons to release epinephrine, that's adrenaline and noradrenaline.
Adrenaline and noradrenaline. Okay.
Simultaneously, another crucial stress hormone, cortisol, is released, so your system gets flooded.
Okay, so a hormone rush. What do those hormones do?
Adrenaline and noradrenaline raise your blood pressure, increase your heart rate, boost sweating, all prepping your body for an emergency. Cortisol, on the other hand, releases fat and sugar into your bloodstream. That's for an immediate energy boost, getting you ready for intense physical exertion.
Fight or flee fuel.
Exactly.
Okay.
And this surge leads to that whole cascade of physical reactions people probably recognize. Headaches, muscle tension, general aches and pains.
Yeah, the tight shoulders, the clenched jaw.
Right, or stomach upset, nausea, indigestion, maybe even dizziness.
Yeah.
A racing heartbeat, quickened breathing, sometimes even skin rashes.
And you said long-term high levels are risky.
Very risky. While designed to protect, sustained high levels of these hormones over days or weeks can actually increase the risk of heart attacks and strokes.
Wow, okay. So the challenge in modern life then, you call it the unused chemicals problem.
Yeah, that's a good way to think about it. Our ancestors needed to physically fight or flee that saber-toothed tiger. Today, if you're stuck in traffic, fuming because you're late for an important meeting or, navigating a difficult conversation online.
Your body still pumps out those chemicals.
Exactly. Your body produces these protective chemicals, but there's no physical threat to respond to, no real physical outlet. So those chemicals just sit in your body, unused. And over time, they build up, potentially damaging your health.
I think we've all been there, right? Stuck in traffic, fuming, feeling that physical surge, but you're just sitting there, nowhere for it to go. It suddenly makes so much sense why I can feel utterly drained after a bad commute, even if I haven't physically moved much.
It really does put that feeling into perspective. This inherited stress system, vital for survival in the past, often misfires in our modern lives because the threats are rarely physical anymore. The body's response is pretty generic. It just says, do something. You feel agitated.
That feeling of needing to pace or fidget.
Yes. That agitation is a key signal, and learning to work with it is fundamental to control. It's a two-pronged response, remember? It activates certain systems like those for movement and heart rate, while it actually deactivates others.
Like digestion.
Exactly. Digestion, reproduction, things considered luxuries when survival is supposedly at stake.
So understanding that generic do something activation helps us realize that feeling is just built into the stress response itself.
Right. And working with that feeling, not necessarily fighting it, is key to managing it.
Okay, so that's the physical side. But it's not just your body that reacts, is it? Your mind and emotions are deeply affected too.
Oh, absolutely. When you're stressed, you can have a whole range of different feelings. Emotionally, you might experience constant worry or anxiety, feel overwhelmed, really struggle with concentration, or become forgetful.
Yeah, the brain fog is real.
It is. Mood swings, a short temper, irritability, frequently feeling down or depressed, low self-esteem. These are all common too. You might find yourself just repeatedly going over fears in your head, experiencing racing thoughts, or just feeling this pervasive sense of dread.
And how does this show up in our behavior?
Well, stress often manifests in significant changes to daily habits. Think about behavioral shifts like sleep disturbances.
Either can't sleep or sleep too much.
Correct. Insomnia or oversleeping. Also, shifts in eating habits, eating more or less than usual. Cravings for unhealthy coping mechanisms like smoking or drinking increase.
The comfort food trap.
Definitely. You might withdraw from others, struggle to make decisions, maybe become tearful more easily. In some cases, it can unfortunately lead to losing your temper more quickly, yelling at loved ones, or even physical or verbal aggression.
And you mentioned these things feed off each other.
They absolutely can.
Yeah.
What's particularly challenging is that these feelings and the physical symptoms often create a vicious cycle.
Yeah.
They make you feel even worse. Like you worry that something's terribly wrong with your heart because it's continually beating out of your chest, which just adds more stress.
That's a powerful and dangerous cycle. So for our listeners who might be recognizing some of these signs in themselves, how can we catch these early, especially when they just creep into everything? Life, health, well-being. What are the key indicators that tell us, okay, time to act?
That's a key point. It's really crucial to tackle these as soon as possible. Recognizing signs like that constant worry, feeling overwhelmed all the time, or those persistent changes in sleep and eating habits, that's the first step towards managing it effectively.
So awareness is step one.
Absolutely. If these symptoms are frequent, if they're prolonged, or if they're significantly affecting your daily life, Maybe you're really struggling to concentrate at work, or your relationships are getting strained. That's a clear signal. It's time to speak to your GP, your doctor, to get information on support services and treatments. Ignoring them just allows the problem to get deeper.
Okay. So what actually causes this whole cascade? You mentioned challenges, but what are the common triggers? Is it always one big thing?
Not always.
Yeah.
It can be one huge sudden issue, definitely. But it can also be a slow, insidious buildup of many small ones. And not understanding the specific causes can make the stress feel even more overwhelming, more unmanageable.
So what are the usual suspects?
The most common culprits are often right there in our daily lives: work, money, and relationships. Those are the big three for many people. Our own health and the health of our loved ones also play a significant role, naturally.
And it's not just the major life upheavals.
No, exactly. Stress isn't just about the big events like divorce, unemployment, or, the death of a loved one, although those are obviously huge stressors. A series of minor irritations, feeling undervalued at work day after day, a continuous argument with a family member, even just the daily grind of commuting.
Those little things add up.
They can be just as impactful, sometimes even more so, because they're constant. They relentlessly chip away at our resilience. And stress affects us across the lifespan, right? From exams and bullying in young people to the pressures of becoming a parent, dealing with illness, or managing long-term health conditions later in life.
So it's often a complex web of factors, not just one obvious trigger.
Very much so.
Stepping back then, what does this tell us about the nature of stress in our modern lives, especially for those of us navigating these constant daily pressures?
Well, it really reveals how deeply intertwined many of these stressors are with our daily existence. Let's maybe look at some key areas that frequently contribute to this burden. First, there's work-life balance, or the lack thereof, often. The pressure of continually working harder, longer hours, that's a major stressor for so many. Then add factors like a lack of control over your job, maybe not receiving adequate rewards or recognition for hard work, and that pervasive worry about job security.
It all piles on.
It really does. And this isn't something that just disappears on its own. It needs active management to prevent burnout, anxiety, or depression. Mental ill health, if it becomes severe, can mean taking significant time away from work. We saw data from 2022 in the UK, where mental ill health was actually the 5th most common reason for sickness absence.
Wow, fifth most common. That highlights how crucial managing work stress is before it gets to that point.
Absolutely. Then there are money worries. Financial and debt concerns place immense pressure on people, having a huge effect on stress levels. The rising cost of living energy, food, rent, mortgages is causing widespread financial stress right now, leaving many struggling just to keep their heads above water.
And there's a link to mental health.
A very strong link. A staggering 50% of people with some form of debt also struggle with their mental health. It even increases the risk of suicidal thoughts.
That's incredibly serious. It really underscores the critical need for support from organizations like stepchange.org or Citizens Advice.
It does. It's a direct link between our financial state and our mental well-being.
And the third big one you mentioned was relationships.
Yes, relationships. While they can be, and often are, a great source of support and joy, they can also be a significant source of stress. Ongoing minor arguments, disagreements, maybe larger family difficulties like an affair, illness in the family, or bereavement.
These things are hard.
They can profoundly affect how you think, feel, and behave, leading to this knock-on effect on your overall stress levels. The very people who can be our greatest anchors can also, sometimes inadvertently, become sources of significant emotional strain.
Which brings us to something you touched on earlier. When we feel overwhelmed, why do so many people turn to things like smoking, drinking, or drug use? It seems like a common, if unhealthy, coping mechanism. I think many listeners might be wondering about that.
It's an excellent question, and it's often because these substances offer a perceived quick fix, a temporary escape, from the immediate discomfort of stress. They feel like self-medication.
But it's not really helping, is it?
Ultimately, no. Despite common belief, nicotine, for example, is an addictive substance that actually increases stress, anxiety, and depression in the long run. Your withdrawal symptoms, cravings. It creates this vicious cycle of temporary relief, followed by deeper stress.
And alcohol. People often say it helps them relax.
It might offer short-term tension relief because it dampens the nervous system, but alcohol is a depressant. Long-term, it can significantly worsen mental health, increasing anxiety and depression.
So the relaxing effect is misleading.
Very much so. Similarly, illegal drugs might seem like a quick fix, but they often lead to low mood and anxiety as they start to wear off. They worsen mental health over time and increase the risk of dependence and even severe conditions like schizophrenia and psychosis.
So these habits, while maybe seeming like an escape hatch, actually end up adding to the very stress they're meant to alleviate. They dig us into a deeper hole.
Process.
Part 2, practical tools for daily stress management. Okay, so we've unpacked what stress is, how it affects us, and what triggers it. The good news is you're not helpless against it. There are specific, actionable things you can do. Let's start with what you can do right in the moment to kind of reset your system in real time. You mentioned the relaxation response.
Yes. Dr. Herbert Benson, a cardiologist from Harvard Medical School, identified this. The relaxation response is essentially the physiological opposite of the stress response. It's a state of profound rest that you can actually learn to evoke. And with regular practice, you create this well of calm you can dip into whenever you need it, a genuine physiological counter to stress.
Okay, so how do we evoke it? How can we leverage our own biology? You mentioned a specific tool, the physiological sigh.
That's right. This is, as far as I know, the fastest and most thoroughly grounded tool in physiology and neuroscience for self-directed calming, physiological sigh. To understand how it works, let's quickly look at how your breath controls your heart rate. It's quite direct.
Okay.
When you inhale, your diaphragm moves down, your lungs expand, your heart actually gets a little bit bigger in that expanded chest cavity.
The bigger, really?
Momentarily, yes. And because it's bigger, the blood flows a bit slower through it for that instant. A small group of neurons in your heart, the sinoatrial node, registers this slower flow and sends a signal to your brain telling it to speed up your heart rate.
So inhaling speeds up the heart.
Longer, more vigorous inhales do, yes. Conversely, when you exhale, your diaphragm moves up, your chest cavity gets smaller, making your heart a bit more compact. Blood flows more quickly through that smaller space. This signals your brain via the parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and digest system, to slow down your heart rate.
So longer exhales calm you down.
Longer, more vigorous exhales, exactly. They activate the calming part of your nervous system.
Okay, so how does the physiological sigh use this?
It capitalizes directly on this mechanism. It's a pattern. A double inhale followed by a long, slow exhale. You take a big, deep inhale through your nose, and then right at the end, you sneak in a second, smaller inhale, also through the nose, almost like a little gasp.
A double inhale. Why the second little breath?
That second inhale is crucial. It helps to fully reinflate the millions of tiny air sacs, the alveoli, deep in your lungs. These tend to collapse when you're stressed or just breathing shallowly.
Okay, reinflate the air sacs. Then what?
Then you release it all with a long, slow exhale, usually through the mouth until your lungs are empty. This whole sequence is incredibly effective at quickly ridding your bloodstream of excess carbon dioxide.
Carbon dioxide. Why is that important?
Carbon dioxide builds up in your bloodstream when those little alveoli collapse, and high CO2 levels contribute significantly to feelings of agitation and stress. So by reinflating the sacs with the double inhale, and then expelling the CO2 efficiently with the long exhale, you rapidly reduce that agitated, stressed feeling.
Wow. So practically speaking, how often do we do this?
Just 1 to 3 times is usually enough in the moment. You'll likely notice your level of stress decreasing very quickly.
And the heart rate?
Your heart rate will take about 20 to 30 seconds to return to its baseline after the sigh, so just give it a moment. Don't expect instant calm, but it comes quickly.
That's truly remarkable. The idea that something as simple as adjusting our breath for a few seconds can literally flip a switch in our nervous system. What's the immediate feeling someone should look for when they try this?
It's often a noticeable physical release. Maybe a softening in the chest or shoulders, a feeling of just letting go. The sense of agitation often just deflates.
Okay. Now, you mentioned safety warnings.
Yes, absolutely crucial. While it's powerful, never practice this technique or any breath work involving holds or rapid breathing anywhere near water pools, bathtubs, oceans. People have unfortunately passed out due to shallow water blackout. It's a real risk.
Okay. No water. Anything else?
Yes, it's always wise to consult your doctor before trying any new breathing technique, especially if you have existing pulmonary issues, glaucoma, or other concerns about eye pressure, as breath holding can sometimes affect that.
Got it. Safety first. So, beyond the physiological sigh for that immediate reset, what other powerful mind-body techniques can help us cultivate inner calm, especially for managing those daily stressors?
Absolutely. There are several excellent techniques that harness the mind-body connection, offering different pathways to calm and resilience.
Okay, like what?
Well, one fundamental technique is simply breath focus. This involves taking long, slow, deep breaths, sometimes called abdominal or belly breathing. As you breathe deeply, you gently disengage your mind from distracting thoughts and sensations, bringing your awareness just to the rhythm of your breath.
Just focusing on the breath itself.
Exactly. It's a fantastic way to reconnect with your body in a positive way, anchoring you firmly in the present moment. A note of caution here too, though. If you have respiratory ailments or perhaps heart failure, it's always best practice to check with a doctor before starting any new intensive breathing exercises.
Right. Makes sense. What about meditation? We hear a lot about mindfulness.
Yes, mindfulness meditation is an increasingly popular and well-researched practice. It typically involves sitting comfortably, focusing on your breath, and actively bringing your mind's attention to the present moment. The key is observing thoughts, feelings, and sensations without judgment, rather than letting your mind drift into worries about the past or anxieties about the future.
Training the brain not to get carried away by thoughts.
Precisely. Research suggests it can be incredibly helpful for managing anxiety, depression, insomnia, improving poor concentration, and lifting low moods.
Okay. What else?
There's the body scan technique. This one nicely blends breath focus with progressive muscle relaxation. After a few minutes of deep breathing, you consciously focus your attention on one part of your body or one group of muscles at a time.
Starting at your toes and working up, maybe.
Often, yes. And as you focus on each part, you mentally release any physical tension you feel there. It really boosts your awareness of the mind-body connection and helps you pinpoint where you habitually hold stress.
I can see how that would be helpful. Are there times it might not be?
It might be less helpful or even difficult for individuals who've had recent surgery that affects their body image, or for those who generally struggle with body image concerns, as it does draw very specific attention to physical
That's
areas.
the point. Any others?
Guided imagery is another one. Here, you conjure up soothing scenes, places, or experiences in your mind to help you relax and focus. There are loads of free apps and online recordings available to guide you through this. The key is to choose imagery that you find genuinely calming and personally meaningful. A beach might work for one person, a forest for another.
So personalization is key. Any downsides?
It can sometimes be difficult for those who experience intrusive thoughts, or for people who generally struggle to conjure vivid mental images.
Okay. One more.
For those for whom religion or spirituality is meaningful, repetitive prayer can be a deeply appealing method. This involves silently repeating a short prayer or a meaningful phrase from a prayer while simultaneously practicing breath focus. It combines that spiritual comfort with physiological calming.
Right. So quite a few options there. For our listeners, I imagine they're wondering, with so many choices, how do they pick one? Or where do they start? What's the recommendation?
That's a very practical question. The best advice from experts is usually to sample several of these techniques. See what resonates best with you. Don't feel pressured to stick with the first one you try if it doesn't click. Experiment a little.
And how much practice is needed?
Ideally, try to practice for at least 20 minutes a day. But honestly, even just a few minutes can help, especially when you're just starting out or if you're really short on time. The key is consistency. The longer and the more often you practice, the greater the benefits will be, and the more you can truly reduce your baseline stress level. You're essentially building a valuable reserve of inner calm.
It sounds like you're actually rewiring your brain's response over time.
That's exactly what the research suggests. Consistent practice helps make you more resilient to daily stressors.
Okay, let's broaden the focus now to the big picture, our daily routine. Beyond these specific techniques, what small lifestyle steps can have a huge impact on overall stress resilience, especially for those managing the constant pressures of everyday life?
Great question. These foundational habits are crucial. First, get active. Almost any form of physical activity is a powerful stress reliever, and you really don't have to be an athlete or even in peak physical condition.
So no marathon training required.
Definitely not. Even light activity can pump up your feel-good endorphins and other natural neurochemicals that boost your sense of well-being. And crucially, thinking back to those unused chemicals, exercise helps metabolize the adrenaline and cortisol that build up when you're stressed but can't physically fight or flee.
Ah, so it provides that physical outlet we lack when stuck at a desk or in traffic.
Precisely. It gives those chemicals a job to do, helping to prevent their long-term buildup and potential damage. It also helps refocus your mind, improves your mood, and makes the day's irritations seem less overwhelming.
So what kind of activity counts?
Anything, really. A 10-minute brisk walk, a bike ride, working in the garden, even cleaning your house vigorously. Every little bit helps. The general recommendation is to aim for at least 2.5 hours of moderate intensity activity per week, maybe broken into 20-30-minute segments.
Okay. What about more mindful movement?
Yes, for those looking for that approach, yoga, tai chi, and qigong are excellent. These ancient arts combine rhythmic breathing with specific postures or flowing movements. They offer a mental focus that can distract from racing thoughts. Plus, they enhance flexibility and balance.
Any precautions?
Just the usual. If you're not normally active or have underlying health issues, it's always smart to check with your doctor before starting something new like yoga or tai chi.
Good advice. What about sleep? You mentioned stress affects it.
Yes, and it's a critical loop. Get restful sleep. Stress often makes it hard to sleep, but sleep is precisely when your brain and body recharge and repair. During REM sleep, for instance, your brain is actively processing emotions and consolidating memories. This directly impacts how effectively you cope with stress the next day and how well you learn and remember things.
So skimping on sleep makes stress harder to handle.
Definitely. Aim for 7 to 9 hours per night for adults. Establish a quiet, relaxing bedtime routine. Turn off electronics an hour or so before bed. Create a soothing environment. Dark, quiet, cool. Maybe take a warm bath, read a physical book, and try to stick to a regular sleep schedule, even on weekends, as much as possible.
Consistency helps set the body clock.
It really does. How well and how long you sleep directly affects your mood, energy level, focus, and overall functioning the next day.
Okay, activity sleep.
Mm.
What about food? Does diet play a role?
A huge role. Eat healthy. What you eat directly affects your mood, hormones, and energy levels. A diet rich in fruits, vegetables, whole grains, complex carbohydrates, lean proteins, and omega-3 fatty acids, think fish, flax seeds, along with plenty of water, can help protect you from stress's physical and emotional demands.
How does food connect to mood like that?
There's the gut-brain axis. The microbes living in your gut actually produce neurotransmitters like serotonin and dopamine that influence your mood and stress response.
So eating well literally feeds your good mood chemicals.
In a way, yes. It supports not just your physical body, but your brain's resilience too. Conversely, try to limit unhealthy fats, excess salt, caffeine, especially later in the day, and added sugars, as these can often exacerbate stress symptoms or lead to energy crashes.
Makes sense. Anything else routine-wise?
When life feels chaotic or unmanageable, maintain a routine. Sticking to a reasonably consistent daily pattern of sleeping, eating, and exercising can provide a welcome sense of control and predictability. It helps combat the destabilizing effects of stress.
And finally, carving out personal time.
Yes, absolutely essential. Practice regular self-care or me time. Balancing your responsibilities to others with dedicated time for yourself is crucial, not selfish. Self-care is highly personal. Choose activities that genuinely make you feel good, whether that's relaxing with a book, seeing friends, taking a walk in nature, listening to music, or just rewatching your favorite comforting TV show.
It doesn't have to be complicated.
Not at all. Even just a few minutes deliberately set aside to think about pleasant things or do something you enjoy can make a significant difference in your stress levels and overall perspective.
So bringing this all together, these lifestyle habits aren't just about masking symptoms, are they?
No, not at all. They are fundamentally about building resilience. They help you create a robust buffer against the daily stressors you inevitably encounter, the ones you can't always control. By consistently integrating these practices, you empower your body and mind to respond more effectively and less reactively to challenging situations. It helps prevent stress from taking that damaging long-term toll. It raises your baseline capacity to handle life's pressures.
Okay, so we've covered the body and lifestyle. What about managing the mind itself? Are there cognitive strategies we can use, ways to shift our perspective?
Absolutely. Beyond managing your body's response, you can actively manage your mind's interpretation and reaction to stressors. These cognitive strategies are about fundamentally shifting your perspective and approach, allowing you to regain a sense of control.
Where do we start with that?
First, identify and act on changeable stressors. This sounds obvious, but it's powerful. Start by really pinpointing what's actually causing your stress. Then, maybe make a list of everything worrying you. Go through that list and honestly identify which items are genuinely not in your control.
Like global events or other people's behavior?
Exactly. Practice reminding yourself that wasting precious energy on things you truly cannot influence is unproductive. It just drains you. For example, you can't single-handedly change the cost of living crisis or the political climate. Acknowledge it, yes, but don't dwell there.
So focus on what you can control.
Precisely. Focus on the items you can influence, maybe number them from most to least manageable, and then start with the easiest tasks first
Why the easiest?
to build confidence and momentum. Ticking off a few smaller things makes the bigger stressors feel less daunting. It gives you a genuine sense of agency, proof that you can make progress.
I like that. Build momentum.
Up.
What else?
Journaling. Writing down your thoughts and feelings can be a powerful release, and it's not just about venting. It helps bring clarity. Don't censor yourself. Just let your thoughts flow onto the page. This helps externalize rumination, that cycle of repetitive negative thoughts just spinning in your head.
Getting it out of your head and onto paper.
Yes. And that aids cognitive restructuring. It helps you see the thoughts more objectively, challenge them, maybe reframe them. You can also use a journal to consciously track the day's accomplishments, notice positive events, however small, or write down things you're grateful for. This actively shifts your focus and provides a tangible record of your thought patterns, which can help identify specific stressors more effectively over time.
Okay, you mentioned gratitude there. Tell us more about practicing gratitude.
Daily gratitude practice can significantly improve both physical and emotional well-being. And it's more than just positive thinking. It seems to actively shift neural pathways associated with reward and well-being in the brain. Take time each day to consciously remind yourself of specific things you are genuinely grateful for, maybe 3 things, and actually write them down.
Why write them down?
It makes it more concrete, more deliberate. It moves beyond a fleeting thought into a focused practice. This really helps recalibrate your brain's focus away from deficits and problems towards appreciation. It might be one of the simplest, yet most powerful tools for reducing stress and feeling better.
That sounds doable. What about how we talk to ourselves?
Crucial point. Be kind to yourself. When you're stressed, it's so easy to fall into a negative headspace and think really hurtful things about yourself, maybe blame yourself for feeling stressed or not coping better.
The inner critic gets loud.
Very loud. Remind yourself consciously that you're not at fault. Stress affects everyone intensely, and it's okay, in fact. It's necessary to be gentle with yourself. It's a fundamental act of self-compassion, and it directly counteracts the harshness of stress.
Don't beat yourself up for feeling stressed.
Exactly. And don't underestimate the power of joy and humor. Laugh more.
Seriously. Laughter helps stress.
It really does. A good sense of humor lightens your mental load, and it actually creates positive physical changes too. Laughter fires up and then cools down your stress response. Think of it like interval training for your nervous system.
Huh. I like that. So watch a funny show, tell jokes.
Yeah, watch a funny show, share jokes with friends, spend time with humorous people. There's a real physiological benefit to a good belly laugh. It releases endorphins.
Okay, good excuse to watch more comedies. One last cognitive strategy.
Assert yourself. This is about boundaries. Learn to say no, politely but firmly when you need to, or learn to delegate tasks when possible.
That can be hard for people.
It can be very hard, especially if you're used to being accommodating. But setting healthy boundaries is crucial for managing your workload and your to-do list. It prevents that inner conflict, the anger, the resentment that builds up when you constantly put others' needs entirely before your own. Remember, your well-being is a priority, and recognizing your physical and emotional limits isn't weak, it's essential self-care.
Okay, so these cognitive strategies, identifying control, journaling, gratitude, self-kindness, laughter, assertiveness, they aren't about denying stress exists.
Not at all. They're about fundamentally changing your relationship with it. They empower you to take control where you can and to reframe your perspective where you cannot.
Which raises an important question. We've talked about managing stress in the moment and building daily resilience. But how can we maybe scale these practices or use other techniques to strengthen our overall capacity for stress, especially when dealing with those medium to long-term pressures that seem to linger for weeks or months, the kind that really grinds you down?
Part 3. Advanced strategies and seeking support. That's an excellent question, moving beyond immediate coping to actually building a higher tolerance.
Right. We've talked about the acute in-the-moment relief, but what about that medium-term stress, the kind that lasts for days or weeks, just making you feel constantly on edge? How do we build our capacity to handle that so it doesn't always feel so overwhelming? Is it about raising some kind of internal threshold?
That's exactly the concept. This is about raising your stress threshold or enhancing your capacity to handle stress more effectively when it persists. It involves, counterintuitively perhaps, deliberately putting yourself in situations where your adrenaline increases, where your body feels stressed, but then consciously working to calm your mind while your body remains activated.
So body stressed, mind calm. How does that work?
It's not about avoiding the physical sensation of stress, but about becoming comfortable with it. You're essentially teaching your brain and body to dissociate the mental panic or overwhelm from the physical arousal. You learn that you can be physically activated without mentally freaking out.
Okay, so how do you deliberately activate the system like that? Safely, of course.
There are a few ways. One is through high-intensity exercise. Think short bursts, like sprinting or very intense cycling, where your heart rate gets very high, you're breathing hard, pushing yourself physically near maximum capacity.
So that mimics the physical stress response.
It does. Another method is through cold exposure, like cold showers or even brief ice baths. These trigger an immediate strong adrenaline release and physiological response.
Bracing.
Definitely. Oh. Or you could try a specific breathing protocol like cyclic hyperventilation or oxygenation, which is similar to Wim Hof breathing. This typically involves rounds of 25-30 rapid, deep inhales and exhales, followed by a breath hold on the exhale.
Okay, but safety first with these, right?
Right.
Especially the breathing.
Absolutely critical. Again, never do intense breath work like cyclic hyperventilation near water due to the blackout risk. And always consult your doctor before trying intense exercise, cold exposure, or specific breathing protocols, especially if you have any cardiovascular issues, pulmonary problems, or eye pressure concerns like glaucoma, as breath holds can significantly increase eye pressure.
Understood. So you're in this state of high physical activation, heart pounding, maybe feeling cold. What's the mental part? How do you stay calm?
The key technique here, particularly emphasized by neuroscientists like Andrew Huberman, is to deliberately dilate your gaze.
Dilate my gaze. What does that mean? Like open my eyes wider.
Not exactly wider, but broader. When we're stressed, our focus narrows. We get tunnel vision, literally and figuratively.
Yeah.
Our pupils actually dilate, but our field of view constricts. So while your body is in this heightened state, you consciously shift away from that tunnel vision. You try to engage your peripheral vision, taking in a wide panoramic view of your environment.
Without moving your head and eyes around.
Exactly. You keep your head and eyes relatively still, but you consciously try to see more of your surroundings all at once. The ceiling, the walls, the floor, everything in your periphery simultaneously.
Okay. How does looking around broadly calm the mind?
This specific action shifting to panoramic vision directly signals a specific circuit in your brainstem, one associated with alertness and vigilance, to basically stand down, to relax. It's a bottom-up way of telling your brain, okay, body's working hard, but there's no immediate focused threat here, we're safe. It helps dissociate the mental or emotional panic response from the physical activation.
So you're teaching your mind to remain calm even when your body is clearly in high gear. What kind of feeling should our listeners expect as they practice this? Is it like a switch flipping or more subtle?
It's often a subtle yet profound shift. It's not about instantly eliminating the physical sensation of stress, but about fundamentally changing your brain's interpretation of it. You might notice your thoughts slow down a bit, or the sense of urgency or panic diminishes, even though your heart might still be pounding from the exercise or cold.
And doing this regularly builds tolerance.
That's the idea. By practicing this deliberately, maybe once a week or so, what once felt mentally overwhelming during physical stress starts to become more manageable, more tolerable. You're extending your window of tolerance for that activated state.
It's almost like stress inoculation training for your brain, training it to stay cool under pressure even when your body is in overdrive. That's a powerful shift in how we can interact with and manage those lingering medium-term stressors that often lead to burnout.
Okay, so that's medium term. Now, let's tackle the really tough one, the long game. What about chronic long-term stress? The kind that persists for months, maybe even years. This is the kind that truly takes a toll, right? Leading to serious issues like heart disease, maybe even changes in brain structure, like a smaller hippocampus, which affects memory.
Yes, that's exactly right. The hippocampus is crucial for learning and memory, and chronic stress can literally cause it to shrink over time. So this long-term stress is the most insidious form, and it probably needs a different kind of intervention. In a world that often feels quite isolating, what's truly the most effective strategy here?
You're right, long-term stress is definitively bad for us, physically and mentally. You absolutely do not want adrenaline and cortisol coursing through your system constantly for prolonged periods. Ideally, your stress levels should fluctuate naturally throughout the day, but they should never stay chronically elevated, nor should they consistently prevent you from getting restful, restorative sleep. And while all the tools we've discussed, exercise, good sleep, Real-time calming techniques like the physiological sigh are always useful. The data points very strongly towards social connection as the single most effective mitigation strategy for buffering against the damaging effects of chronic stress.
Social connection, more powerful than exercise or meditation for long-term stress.
For buffering long-term negative consequences, the evidence is compelling. Here's why. Genuine social connection releases serotonin.
Serotonin, often called the feel-good chemical.
It contributes to feeling good, yes, but it's more complex. Think of serotonin as a neuromodulator, maybe like the brain's playlist chemical. It doesn't just create one feeling, it amplifies feelings of well-being, trust, and delight. It tends to make us feel like we have enough in our immediate environment, a sense of contentment and safety.
Okay, so it promotes well-being and trust. How does that counter chronic stress effects?
When we connect with someone we recognize and trust, a friend, family member, partner, serotonin is released in the brain. This has profound positive downstream effects, including on the immune system and, importantly, on neural repair mechanisms. It helps to prevent that withering of brain connections, like in the hippocampus, that we see with chronic stress. It essentially reinforces healthy neural pathways and supports overall brain health and resilience against long-term damage.
So connection literally helps protect the brain from stress. What forms does this connection take? Does it have to be deep relationships?
It can take many forms. Romantic attachments, certainly. Strong familial bonds, close friendships. But also, connections with pets can be incredibly powerful for releasing these beneficial chemicals. Even finding delight or connection in inanimate objects or engaging deeply in hobbies can tap into similar pathways, promoting that sense of well-being and enoughness.
That's interesting. So it's about genuine engagement and the feelings of trust and well-being that arise, whatever the source.
Exactly. However, and this is important to acknowledge, building and maintaining meaningful social connection takes work. It requires investment, time, and sometimes navigating complex dynamics. It requires us to not always expect everything or everyone to be exactly as we want them.
It's not always easy.
No, it's not always easy,
Yeah.
but its power in combating the long-term deleterious effects of stress is incredibly profound and likely unmatched by other single interventions.
So practically speaking, what steps can listeners take to foster this?
Reach out proactively to people you trust. Make time to talk about your concerns, share experiences, or just connect. Consider connecting with community groups, faith-based organizations, or clubs centered around shared interests. Even volunteering for a cause you care about or doing small favors for others can build social bonds, increase serotonin, boost your sense of purpose, and significantly enhance your resilience and well-being.
So in a world that can often feel isolating, actively fostering these genuine connections isn't just a nice to have, it's actually a crucial buffer against the most damaging forms of stress. But I have to ask, for many of us navigating really busy lives, finding the time and energy to build and maintain those deep social bonds can sometimes feel like another stressor. Does this advice inadvertently put more pressure on people who already feel stretched thin or maybe struggle with social interaction?
That's a very fair and incredibly important point. The potential challenge isn't lost on us at all. It's true that for some, the idea of you need more social connection can feel daunting, even overwhelming. But it's really not about forcing yourself into uncomfortable situations or needing to have a massive social circle. It's much more about quality over quantity. And it's about finding authentic engagement, even in small doses. A brief, genuine conversation with a colleague you like, a short phone call to a family member just to check in, a heartfelt interaction with a pet. These can all trigger those beneficial serotonin releases.
So small moments count.
Absolutely. The investment isn't always about grand gestures or hours-long commitments. It's often about consistent, small acts of connection that add up over time. The key is finding your level and type of connection that feels genuinely nourishing and supportive, not like another chore or source of pressure.
That makes sense. Quality over quantity and finding what works for you. Okay, now, sometimes, despite our best efforts with lifestyle changes, coping mechanisms, building connections, life just throws major curveballs, right? And maybe we need some extra support. Are there compounds, maybe supplements, not prescriptions, that can help modulate the stress system? And how should we approach those?
Yes, there are compounds that can influence the stress system, but it's absolutely vital to approach these cautiously and strategically. These are not meant to be year-round, everyday solutions. They're better thought of as targeted tools to consider when short and medium-term stress is proving difficult to manage, perhaps due to uncontrollable life circumstances, and after you've already implemented lifestyle and behavioral strategies. And
Right.
critically, always consult with a knowledgeable healthcare professional before adding any supplements. especially if you have existing health conditions or take other medications as interactions are possible.
Okay, caution first. What are some examples?
One that's well studied is L-theanine. It's an amino acid found naturally in green tea. When supplemented, typically at doses of 100, 200 milligrams taken about 30-60 minutes before sleep, it can enhance the transition to sleep and potentially improve the depth of sleep for many individuals.
How does it work?
It works partly by increasing GABA in the brain. GABA is an inhibitory neurotransmitter. It helps calm things down, reducing overthinking and mental rumination, which often keeps people awake when stressed. Studies show L-theanine significantly increases relaxation and has a notable effect on subjective feelings of stress, with maybe a minor effect on anxiety itself.
Okay, L-theanine for sleep and relaxation. What else?
Another one often discussed is ashwagandha. This is an adaptogenic herb used for centuries in Ayurvedic medicine. Ashwagandha is known primarily for its ability to help lower both subjective anxiety and, importantly, levels of cortisol, the primary stress hormone.
So it directly targets cortisol.
Research suggests it does help buffer the cortisol response. This can be beneficial during periods of particularly high stress, helping to manage the potential long-term negative effects of elevated cortisol. But, like L-theanine, it's generally not recommended for continuous, year-round use. It's more for specific, defined, stressful periods lasting maybe weeks or a few months, not indefinitely.
Right, targeted use. Now, what about melatonin? It's incredibly popular for sleep, often seen as harmless. What's the perspective there?
Melatonin. Yes, it needs a specific note of caution. Melatonin is a hormone naturally secreted by your pineal gland, primarily regulated by darkness. Light exposure suppresses its release. It definitely helps signal to your body that it's nighttime and helps you fall asleep. However, it doesn't necessarily help you stay asleep throughout the night.
Okay, so it initiates sleep but doesn't maintain it. What's the concern?
The concern from some experts, including neuroscientists who study sleep, is primarily with the doses typically found in over-the-counter supplements. They're often very high, 1 milligram, 3 milligrams, sometimes even 5 or 10 milligrams.
That's
Compared to what your body naturally produces, yes, it can be outrageously high. These pharmacological doses might have unintended downstream effects. Given its popularity, what's one key takeaway for listeners who might already be using it or considering it? My key takeaway, echoing some expert opinions, would be extremely cautious with melatonin supplementation. Because it's a hormone, these high doses can have potential negative effects on other hormonal systems, including the reproductive axis, testosterone, estrogen, etc. If you're struggling with sleep, the first and best approach is always to focus on optimizing sleep hygiene, your environment, routine, light exposure, caffeine intake, etc. If you do consider melatonin after that, definitely discuss it with your doctor first to explore the absolute lowest effective dose, potentially microdoses, for a very short duration, rather than relying on high doses long term.
Okay, so the overarching message for supplements is they are targeted, temporary tools, not foundational solutions. Use them judiciously, understand their specific purpose, be aware of potential impacts, and always prioritize lifestyle and behavioral strategies first, and consult a professional.
Exactly. They are not a substitute for addressing the root causes of stress or building fundamental resilience through the other methods we've discussed.
This deep dive has given us so many tools for self-management, really, from those immediate physiological resets like the sigh to building long-term resilience through connection and lifestyle. But as powerful as these self-help tools are, it's absolutely crucial to recognize when stress moves beyond what you can reasonably manage on your own. When is it time to bring in the pros, especially when you feel overwhelmed by daily pressures?
That's a vital point. If your stress symptoms are making it genuinely hard for you to go about your daily life, impacting your work, your relationships, your ability to function, or if they're making you feel physically unwell, or if the self-care measures just aren't providing sufficient relief, it is absolutely time to reach out for professional help. You don't have to manage this alone, and you shouldn't have to.
What are some specific signs that indicate it's time to seek that professional help?
Look out for things like constant pervasive worry or anxiety that you can't switch off, feeling consistently overwhelmed like you just can't cope, significant difficulty concentrating that impacts your performance or safety, severe mood swings, or prolonged periods of feeling down, depressed, or hopeless.
Changes in habits, too?
Yes, persistent changes in eating or sleeping habits that don't resolve. Or if you find yourself increasingly relying on alcohol, tobacco, or illegal drugs to cope, that's a major red flag.
And physical symptoms?
Physical symptoms like frequent headaches, digestive issues, or muscle pain that don't have another clear medical cause could be stress-related and warrant discussion. Definitely any chest pain should always be medically evaluated immediately to rule out serious causes. And, critically, any thoughts of self-harm or suicide are emergencies requiring immediate professional help. Don't wait.
Okay. So if someone recognizes these signs, where do they turn? What resources are available?
Resources are readily available, thankfully. Often the first step can be speaking to your GP, your general practitioner, or family doctor. They can offer advice, assess your situation, rule out other medical causes, and refer you to local mental health professionals or support services if needed.
What kind of professional help is effective?
Therapeutic approaches like cognitive behavioral therapy or CBT and various mindfulness-based interventions like MBSR or MBCT are well established and known to be highly effective in helping people manage stress, anxiety, and depression by teaching coping skills and changing thought patterns.
Are there non-medical resources too?
Absolutely. Beyond medical professionals, there are many excellent voluntary organizations dedicated to providing support. In the UK, for example, you can call Samaritans anytime on 116 123 for confidential emotional support. KELMM, the Campaign Against Living Miserably, runs a helpline at 0800 58 58 58, particularly focused on suicide prevention. For financial stress, which we know is a huge trigger, organizations like Citizens Advice and Step Change offer free, impartial debt advice and support.
And for immediate crisis?
For immediate crisis or suicidal thoughts, in the U.S., the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline is available 24/7 by calling or texting 988. Similar crisis lines exist in most countries. Find yours and save the number. Additionally, specialist mental health services, often coordinated by a local community mental health team, can provide a broader range of treatments, including talking therapies, medication if appropriate, and ongoing support.
The key message is you don't have to go through this alone.
Absolutely not. Reaching out for help is a sign of strength and self-awareness, not weakness. Help is available and recovery is possible.
Wow. Okay. That was a truly comprehensive deep dive into understanding and managing stress. We've explored so much, from the fundamental biology of that fight or flight response to practical breathing techniques like the physiological sigh you can use right now and the profound long-term impact of social connection. I think a key takeaway for me is that stress isn't just this evil thing to be avoided at all costs. It's actually a powerful, innate system that, with the right understanding and the right tools, you can learn to control and maybe even leverage sometimes.
Precisely. What's fundamentally in our control isn't always the events that happen to us, but how we react to those events in the world around us. By understanding those three timescales of stress, the short-term acute response, the medium-term lingering stress, and the long-term chronic wear and tear, and by applying these targeted physiological and cognitive tools we've discussed, you genuinely gain the ability to consciously adjust your internal levels of alertness or calmness. You learn to dial it up or down as needed.
So you can choose your response more effectively.
Exactly. This allows you to lean more effectively into life's challenges, to actually feel better even when things are tough, and perhaps even to support others more profoundly because you're managing your own state better. It's about empowering yourself to navigate life's inevitable ups and downs with greater resilience and composure.
So what does this all mean for you, our listener? It means you have agency. You have pathways available to you. You have more power than you might think over that feeling of being overwhelmed. You have tangible strategies you can start using today to reclaim your inner calm, even amidst the busiest of days.
So, for you, our listener, perhaps we can leave you with this provocative thought to mull over. In the face of your specific daily stressors, the ones you encounter regularly, what is one small, deliberate step you will commit to taking today? Maybe it's trying that physiological sigh just once when you feel agitated. Perhaps it's taking 60 seconds to genuinely practice gratitude before you get out of bed. Or maybe it's sending that text to reach out to a trusted connection you haven't spoken to in a while. What is that one small step you'll take to reclaim just a moment of calm and begin to strengthen the incredible capacity for resilience that is already within you?
Until next time, keep diving deep into knowledge and perhaps more importantly, into yourself.
Thanks for joining me on Wellness 7000.